Well, welcome here. We've done it, whatever day it is. We,
Oh
we don't need to know.
I
It's
was
just
so
whatever day it
scrambled.
is.
I didn't get a lot of sleep the
Uh-huh.
night before. I texted you, and
Yeah.
so when you said it's at 6:30, and I was like, "Well, what date
Yeah.
and time?" I was saying 6:30. Oh, I thought you meant
Well,
yesterday.
I
And
thought,
like,
well,
"Was
I
really
thought, well, I can add a joke or I can add clarification.
Oh
I was
my
like,
gosh.
well, anything I muddy could confuse them. And I was like, it's fine.
Oh, it was fine.
Yeah.
And then I had showed up for class 24 hours early.
I
Tuesday.
think that we could rephrase it and say you came 2 days in a row.
I came 2 days in a
Very
row.
good.
Absolutely.
A
Yeah.
highly disciplined student.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have a private class.
Yeah.
Self-directed.
Yeah. Well, this week the theme is Starlight. And I thought I would just kind of start with this quote. Yeah, it's a poem, I guess. It's very short. It's by Butterflies Rising. I don't know if you've read their work, but it's pretty cool. I think their website is butterfliesrising.com, so you could just check it out if it's your thing. But this one says, "Let's run free under starlight, restless for our dreams and full of wild defiance. Let's run free under starlight, restless for our dreams and full of wild defiance." And one of the things that I was thinking is that the moonlight is starlight. It's reflected from our star, and the daylight is starlight. And going back however many dozens of thousands of years before lamplight and electric light and all the rest. Well, maybe there was a forest fire or lightning, which of course is very brief. But how much of the light that was seen by anybody was not starlight?
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure it wasn't 100%, but quite a high percent. And now when we think about light, we have to adjectivize it so we know which light we're talking about. Like these are LED candles, but they could have been real candles, or it could have been a whale oil lamp, or a battery powered something, or whatever it is. And so the percentage of light that we perceive is less fully starlight than it was when we became human. Does that much make a difference to the eye? Maybe not. Might it make a difference to your soul or your heart? I would think it might. The world is so much more full of artificial light than it had been before we made fire, or before we create electricity or do all the different things that we do. And certainly, there's examples of bioluminescence or what have you. But by and large, by opening ourselves to light that isn't starlight, we gained the night. We can all just decide to do something later at night if we wanted, if we don't have to wake up early. Whereas sometime before that, as the sun goes down, you're finding a place to settle in for the night, and you're not even staying up reading or whatever. It's just that's the end of the lights, and then we start to have fire and we start to have lamps and things, and we kind of can preserve it if you have the resources. Maybe not as easily as we can with electricity, but it really opened up more of the day for us, of the 24-hour day. But did our human experience become diluted in that larger day? right? Or is it more just that we've added to the experience and we can have other things happen because the night is available to us because we're not limited by starlight, right? And when we think of the a star, which is gas, it's actually, almost entirely hydrogen and helium, like very, very light elements, right? And every other element, if you think about the periodic chart, was like formed by combining those elements. So when you hear that sort of poetic idea of we're made of starlight or we're made of stardust or something like that, like literally, that's where calcium comes from, that's where iron comes from, that's where manganese comes, that's where, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're literally in a stellar factory. Like the shock wave, is compressing things and making iron and making gold and making et cetera, et cetera. And then eventually, supernovaing out and finding its way to a rocky planet somewhere through an asteroid and so on and so forth. But it's kind of amazing to think that, before there was light, there was an accumulation of very lightweight elements that accumulated enough to have weight and pressure and therefore heat and therefore become spark to life and then start to send photons out.
There's like that attraction, and then there's that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the pressure builds up enough and eventually it's outward, you know and the light is some part of it. And then another way to think about this is, um, by and large, the life on Earth, which this thing eats that, this thing eats those two things, this thing eats mostly that, but sometimes this thing doesn't care, it'll eat everything. This thing feeds on whatever, all the different things. But ultimately, and this is not, I'll say this as if it's 100% true, but that's not quite the case anymore. But 99 point whatever, everything ultimately is eating starlight. Like everything is dependent on the initializing energy of the sun, which becomes things that become things that become things that get eaten by things. Right, so everything is dependent on starlight for its energy. And I say everything, even though they think now that's not exactly true. There are some things that live, deep in the crust of the earth or whatever, and they only through chemical reactions feed on gold or something like that. And so there's like a little exception to the sort of homogeneous rule. But it is kind of interesting to think that essentially everything on the planet is processing starlight into a form that it prefers. And often that processing means that you can defer the consumption of the starlight, right? So if you want to eat a cow, which is ultimately starlight, you can like let it live for a while until you're hungry enough to. And so you can, even though it's night, the starlight is gone. It's conserved, right? So it's accumulated in the cow and conserved in the cow to an extent. The cow can't live forever, but we are conserving, we are preserving, and we are transforming the starlight into other forms. So everything's being processed into a form that we prefer. And sometimes that the preference of that form is apparent to us just that in that the form is sort of chronologically separated from the moment of the starlight. And I think that's interesting because when we think about the the vast distances in space, we are often reminded that when you look at the sun, you're seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago, or whatever the math is. And then, of course, if you look at something further away, that's actually how it was 10 billion years ago, or whatever the math is. But then that's also true for you and I in the room.
Yeah.
But I don't bother to measure that small a time, but it is technically
It takes time
go.
for my voice to reach yours.
Right. And less time for the light to reach, but still some time. And so when we think about the starlight, it's always showing us a picture of the past. Right. So anything that we see is the past. But we think that what we see is the present. Like it's what we argue. Our brain argues that I hear something, I smell something, I have a hackles rise, I have some other sense. Once my eyes lock on, that tends to be like the super vote. Like, even though the other senses said ghost, once I looked and nobody's in the room, like, well, look, it must be the pipes. Like, my eyes kind of tend to win the vote. And they tend to decide that what they see is now. But the truth is, they don't see now. And I was thinking too that starlight as energy that gets preserved is another way of taking delaying our relationship to the starlight. And the starlight is delaying our relationship to the star. Right.
The poem I wrote had to do with time.
Cool. Maybe would you like to start with that? Or you could
Sure.
talk about it too, but
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like, so it was about time and like sort of the experience of time and the experience of starlight. So it wasn't necessarily a poem about starlight,
Okay.
but I did that, you know, with the ST where you hit starlight.
Oh yeah. Acrostic.
So, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So, but
Yay.
it was so it goes, show me how to make time. Sorry. Show me how to make time last forever. A billion fireflies. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Show me how to make time last forever. A billion fireflies ruling the night. Love, come walk with me. Imagine us laying on a beach at midnight, gazing at the heavens, holding hands together.
That's great. Light is love, imagine, gazing, holding together.
Yeah.
Like how nice to have that as.
And I was thinking that, show me how to make time last forever. And it's, here's this light, and then it goes, we see it, but it keeps going on and on.
Right.
So that was that. And
that's so cool.
so that was my.
One of the things that they say in astronomy is, you can perceive a star again as it was, but that star may be no more. Like, so like the light is continuing, like the momentum of its life, until it finds our retina. But the star is just not there. If you trace it back, it's just empty space. So amazing, right? And thank you for that. That was really fun. That's a great way to do it. Do you have one? Would you like to take the turn?
The path was worn with memory. The light, the inner light, revealed dreamlike whispers of tall wings, waves. Sandy gravel underfoot, salty air, and ocean heartbeat guided my inner compass through the dark. There must be darkness to see the stars, she said from a future echo. And I, here, in the presence of this universe, find the edge overlooking the sea and spend the night under starlight and mystery.
And you just wrote that? Was it Heartbeat of the Ocean? Is that what it was? Early
Ocean heartbeat.
Ocean Heartbeat. If
the
I can
waves
ask,
coming
was
up.
it like waves or
So I
tide
can-
or
I can tell you.
yeah.
Stop.
Or tag.
I tend to like just reading it because it becomes like a universal riddle in a way.
Yeah.
So when I hear the word starlight,
Mhm.
a memory comes to mind of me in Northern California. At nighttime, this one night, retracing my steps, walking a path to the cliff side. And
As
that
soon as you said Northern
particular
California, I
night-
thought when you said over the beach,
Yeah.
that was like, yeah, I think I get it.
that particular night, like I didn't have a flashlight. I was just trusting like my inner compass, source, whatever name, it can be given, to use the path that we had used like earlier in the day or yesterday to return to that magical spot that I was seeking. And I just went and trusted, and I found it with the help of moonlight, starlight, source, whatever,
Mhm. Yep.
So it was a really magical memory, and felt like writing it out.
Did the writing out of it, was it kind of journalistic, or did you start that way? Like sometimes I'll do it and it's sort of journalistic, like, oh, that thing that I just write about it. But then
Yeah.
sometimes I get pulled into more, oh, I'm just imagining, I'm having fun, so I just write that. And other times I'm like, no, just try and tell the story. So I'm just curious if
Yeah. So yesterday and today, I was writing in my notes like what came to mind when I think of Starlight. And so it
Mhm.
was kind of like that process of like thinking about things and researching and looking up like my favorite artist poem or my favorite writer's poem about Starlight. Just kind of like all of that came to this moment where I was lying in bed like 2 hours before class, and like the first phrase came to me, and then I just kept writing and it unfolded. So the phrase was, the path was worn with memory, and then it
the
just
path was worn with memory. Can we hear it again?
yeah.
I'd like to hear it again after you hear a little bit more of a, like when the singer tells you, hey, I remember writing it, and they tell you those stories, like, oh, now I want to hear the song, Thank you.
The path was worn with memory. The moonlight, the inner light, revealed in dreamlike whispers of tall reeds and waves. Sandy gravel underfoot, salty air, and ocean heartbeat guided my inner compass through the dark. There must be darkness to see the stars, she said from a future echo. And I, here in the presence of this universe, find the edge overlooking the sea and spend the night under starlight and mystery.
It's an amazing idea that I, in this universe, like the whole thing sounds like you're painting something very grand somehow. Like, because I'm thinking the ocean, the sky, the cliffs, I don't know, somehow it just feels like without directly doing it, you're painting something very grand. And then you talk about the universe, which is grand, but you're talking about it is like, that's just one of the universes I visit. So it kind of minimizes the grand that was subtly built, which isn't like a criticism. It's just kind of an interesting, you know.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I'm curious,
Mhm.
okay, so you're hearing your future self saying there must be darkness
Yes, I'll
to,
explain that.
yeah,
So that's actually it's different when you see it because it's in quotations. It's a quote from my favorite writer, Ursula Caitlin Gwynn.
I love her.
There must be darkness to see the stars. And so like that with me saying like this universe is
Mhm.
kind of like a nod to her expansive worlds of time.
There's
Right.
stars and traveling to these places. So
If you share that with me, I'll post
Is
it.
that
And we
from
can see
very
the
far away
quotes.
Mm-hmm.
from anywhere else? That quote, "There must be darkness to see the starlight,"
I'm not sure.
because there's a whole passage in there about, being on a mountain with a friend.
Oh my gosh, what is it called?
It's called "Very Far Away from Anywhere Else," by Ursula K. Le Guin. Yeah, it was a book that I read in high school. That was about two young people that are friends, and then there's one passage that that talks about being on a mountaintop. I was there with a friend as the universe moving in on its. There's something I don't remember it by verbatim,
Okay.
but I will find it and I will send it to you.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but I'm wondering
Yeah.
if you love her books.
Oh, I know I can't get enough. The future tense is just playing with the idea of me finding this quote from her today when this memory happened, 15, 20 years ago. So just kind of playing with that idea of time. So,
And I love the descriptive, like you actually feel like you're walking this path.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really brings you on the journey with the person.
awesome.
Yeah, it's
that
with
was
you.
Yeah. That was the memory. So I'm glad. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
I imagine that when you remember that, there's like on a dimmer switch, there's a precise amount of darkness that you can perceive. And then if you ever are walking and it is that darkness, you'll remember this. Like right when it clicks to that, or you know what I mean? When the air or whatever just feels like that light or that dark, you'll be like, oh, this is like a very precise.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to articulate it, but it just didn't seem to fit. But maybe an expedition.
Yeah, it's one of the nice things that I think people forget, because they get very precious about their poetry, like I don't want to mess with it. I kind of like it, or I do want to play with it. And it's like these days it's digital if you want it to be. And you can forever preserve the first one, and then you can mix it up 17 ways and maybe throw them out, maybe save them, maybe become 17 different poems, maybe one of them kind of you follow it, and actually that is kind of what I really wanted. It might have been different if you had 4 pieces of paper and a little bit of ink, and but now, like, all right, whatever this was, I can just mark it in time as that version, and I can just start all over and just wholesale, like save 2 words, or move everything around, and just and treat it a little with a little bit more freedom that the process allows more readily now. Yeah.
Was interesting. So I kept trying to write this out and like
Mhm.
I would go to pencil because you can like erase, you put a line, it's
Mhm.
not as and I kept getting stuck like with the first line and then not knowing how to go. And then I actually ended up recording it.
Oh, yeah.
I went into my voice memos and I did it spoken word, which is unusual for me because
That's not how you.
that's not usually how I operate. Usually but it was like so it was kind of funny. I actually spoke my way through it several times. And so it's like on my, actually I want to make sure my phone is off so it doesn't like buzz us. But yeah, so I ended up speaking it into, so I mean, and there was like a couple different versions of it, but it was like this was like what I did. It was like,
That's so nice.
yeah, so it was and then
Yeah.
it was like when I was driving, it was like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
coming to me. I was like, oh, let me just but
That's what I do when I drive. I'll record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I might not get the voice notes. I'll just do a video, but whatever. I just want the audio. It's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
and let me
yeah.
just say this because I can't pull over and find the app and type it. Like I just want to say
Yeah.
it, and sometimes it's just a phrase. Like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, just want to say that phrase, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And other times it's mostly a whole poem. Like, oh, this has the right of way. Like whatever else is happening, this
Yeah.
poem's coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Darcy sent me one, and she said I can share it, but she couldn't join us tonight. But it wasn't like in quotes or bold, so it's not absolutely clear what is the poem and what is her text to me in which she.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the whole thing, and you can decide, or we'll find out later from her. But I think I know what she meant for the poem, but I kind of like the whole thing. Starlight, you are my life. The end. Is that a poem?
Ah,
Oh, that was pretty good. Starlight, you are my life. The end. Is that a poem? I thought that was interesting. For the end, there was no period, which to me reads like a question mark because it's not actually the end. Plus, she says something after, which proves it wasn't the end. So who knows?
Yeah.
All right, I will read one since my phone's open here. I didn't bring the iPad, so this is called The Dew Moon. The dew will fail to pool, catching light, becoming air, a daytime dream briefly held, wisped away like every day. The forest of grass received a star shower of overnight starlight, which pooled in places in the fields, silken hammocks, spider stitched. For the briefest low light momentaries, as a fogged breath might, they seem to give me cause to think that they may have caught the moonlight. Though in time, the sod and sun will drink the dew, and the day's demands will leave trodden the patches in the paddocks of silver, of sun, of moon, of stars, of magical pools. That's what happens when you wake up early on the farm. Mhm.
love the imagery, like of the webs capturing. Yeah. Right.
I like the sort of
Mhm.
the beautiful or perhaps tragic or delusional fantastical idea of maybe the spider is spinning this web to catch the moonlight, you know, which seems like it wouldn't work. So like, well, that's not going to do it. And yet in that moment it did. So
Mhm.
maybe I'm the one calling the other the fool is the fool, you know.
But, well, I had a question.
Yeah,
You
please.
said something about some homework for us supposed to do a haiku that was unrestrained. Was that something we were sharing today? or is
If we
that-
wanted to, yeah.
Okay. I was just curious.
You want to come to it now?
Unless you have something, you have your phone open.
Yeah, I was gonna read a couple more on theme,
Okay.
and then we'll, because that will probably be off theme.
That would
Me
be
and my
okay,
guest.
yeah.
So this is by Paradoxical Vista from their book Stardust and Dreams. And this is called Starlight and Dreams. She wept under her dying star, for it had given life to all it could touch. A moment lost under the red and blue dust that can now be seen as a nebula from a distance that can never be touched. Her starlight and dreams dissipate into the black expanse, becoming stardust to create new moments of chance. All the love in the universe couldn't stop the outburst of the perishing star that completes the sequence like the death of Mars. This is by Victoria Chang, and it's called Starlight 1962. Suppose the stars are just our grief reflected back to us, proof that grief sometimes forgets its source, that it can find dead things no matter how distant. Everyone arrives one day and asks, "Is this it?" And the stars answer back with more stars. I wonder if Agnes started at the bottom or at the top, if she went left to right or right to left. There's no use in wondering if the canvas was on the floor or on the table. To ask questions is to be distracted by point of view. Point of view has a terrible memory. I've looked at photos scrolling up and over, zooming in and out, and realized it is not love I want, just the ability to zoom back out. A woman loses herself when she can no longer zoom out. Agnes knew that love exists because of the distance of starlight, that desire is the only thing with nerve endings, that it drips, that it dries faster in the desert. She knew to paint it vertically, but to hang it horizontally. I don't know if that's an ekphrastic poem or not, but it does make me feel like I could read it every single day and enjoy it and like see it differently. Desire
Where's
is the
that
only
one
thing with
from?
nerve
Did you wrote
endings.
that one? Or no?
That's by Victoria Chang. So
Oh,
I couldn't tell you more at the moment, but
is that?
I try and
have
do
you shared-
attribution for everything so that people can follow up. But
Okay,
yeah, but I don't know if that was
That's
a published
amazing.
work or,
Yeah.
where it first was shared. But hopefully with the text and the attribution, we could find more if we wanted. But yeah, I decided not to turn it into a IBID assignment for me where I'm chasing down everything and finding the update link and you know, like so I don't know more. Ooh. Here's a short one from a series about depression. This is me. The hurt came soft as starlight, unnoticed by most, not unknown to one. So I don't know if that's a finished one or not, but figured I'd add it here. Do you have any more to share?
Yeah, I found one.
Thought you had used the plural earlier.
This is by David Wagoner. It's titled by Starlight. Now, far from those harsh lights and the glare of our cities, alone, by a clearing in a forest, we lie down for the first time in our lives, together under stars. And keeping the earth in its place behind our backs, we stare upward into the ancient stream of starlight's current, though it appears to falter, to waver, has made its way to our eyes through barely imaginable down-curved ravines of space to dazzle us with its streamers and wildfires, its ice-laden glitter, the unconstellated burning rubble of godlings, outcast and spilled from the zodiac and constantly falling, as they have always fallen even before our eyes turned to wonder, and will go on falling whether we stay to watch or soon give back our small share of the spectrum to the oldest of nights, to the expansive gestures of a universe we share so pointedly. Some, see there, blew long ago and dimmed, yet shine through lifetimes without a source, with no beginning left behind them now to begin with, but only an ever-shortening reach of glory that flickers in darkness. All will consume themselves and be reborn as we are here, having followed their example, love as fixed and erring and fair and steadfast, not star-crossed yet, but truly catching them as they slant to us past hemlocks, as rich and clear as our silence.
David Wagoner.
By Starlight.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You got a little performing there for a moment. There's
Yeah.
a little,
Music in there
a
is
little crack. You're like,
I think that's what he meant.
no, that's kind of nice though. I like it.
What
Yeah,
did he see there?
yeah. We've been going to an open mic every once a month. So she's been getting up every time and doing a little performiness. That's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
which
good.
which open mic?
Bittersweet Bistro in Killingworth.
Oh, she's doing well.
Yeah, every third Friday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a little cozy group and
Yeah.
supportive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's been pretty nice.
And she was able to work it out with someone. I guess
Oh,
she was
yeah.
like,
Yeah, Laura, right? Is that her name? Did I get it
Not
wrong?
sure.
I think I got it wrong. But yeah, she's worked it out. Christy is who
Christy.
runs it,
yeah.
and she worked it out with the lady doing the Cafe Laurel
Oh,
to start doing her catering from the kitchen.
Okay.
So that means I guess they're basically sharing the space and they'll find their synergistic bits. But that'll mean for the poetry, maybe I keep going. Is that the third
Nice.
Friday of every month? Yeah. Yeah, we were just there a couple of days ago doing, and we got to read a lot, so that was pretty fun.
Oh, nice.
I think I'll read a couple more. If that's all right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just realized that mine actually might be on topic.
Oh, really?
Both.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, so
Oh.
after you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
This is called the Shiva. Let's dance. Let's dance to the starlight. Let's dance to the darkness that the stars fend off, to the darkness that the stars swim in, to the darkness that the stars breathe in, to the darkness that is us, to the stars that we're made of. Let's dance in the darkness we're afraid of. Let's dance with the darkness that made the stars and made us. Let's dance for the sake of the night bug caught in the spider's silk, for the sake of the tadpole waggling in silver pool and silver lights, for the sake of the the fallen and the rising, to the sound of the unnoticed and the mesmerizing. Let's dance to the for the from the for the sake of the song of story, the song of song, the medicine, the deep within. We are the dark, we are the light, we are the day, we are the night, we are the star, we are the starlight. Let's dance the differences. Let's end the endless mend of fences. Let's drop the ego's defenses and come to our forgotten senses. Let's dance. Thank you. Ooh. Thank you, Shivatri. Do you want to go?
Sure. So by starlight, I ran a raging river of fear, undone.
By starlight, I ran a raging river of fear,
Undone.
undone. By starlight, I ran a raging river of fear, undone.
You were saying about freedom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is if I'm not
There's-
prying, is there like a reality to this? Like
Yeah.
you went running, like jogging?
There's actually, Harriet Tubman
Uh-huh.
ran by night,
Mm-hmm.
and she had to follow the river, and had to run in the darkness of night as she made it 100 miles. Not in that first night.
Not in one time. Yeah.
Yeah, but she when she ran, she had a vision that she was going to be taken away and sold.
Yeah.
And so she pulled her things together. She fled by starlight. So that was my imagining of
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I know that, we use the language of burden and shackle and anchor when we talk about stuff, like physical stuff, like
yeah,
that weighs you down, hold you back, it's in your way, it's
Yeah.
clutter, that sort of a sort of Marie Kondo therapy kind of thing. But like imagine that you had a run for your life and you didn't know at 100 miles you're done. Like it's more like you run until you think, which is a bet that it's good enough. And
yeah. She had to make-
everything that you decide to carry with you is going to make it less likely to make it and harder to do it.
yeah,
And like to have that, and we imagine probably happens very quick, like your house is on fire, get out kind of quick. But like making that kind of decision about how little do it take, what will actually help me run and what will hold me down. Like we're not usually faced with that. We have emotional baggage, we have stuff I should clear out, and spring cleaning kind of. But imagine like, I can't carry too much, I can't carry anything loud, I can't carry anything bulky, I can't carry anything that will not help me keep going, I can't carry anything that's probably shiny or whatever. Or like, when are we faced with
yeah. I think
that clarity of choices that will serve your action?
what's essential for survival.
Right. And what's essential for comfort is rarely a Venn diagram of what's essential for survival. Almost all your stuff is about comfort, or staving off discomfort.
Yeah,
And like probably a tiny bit of overlap, like a pair of shoes or something, like with what's
Yeah.
actually for survival.
and then thinking about that too, it's like, how much do we have now? Because we had a point in time where our genealogy, it's what I want.
Our genetics are like our
genetics
lineage.
and our lineage, you know, where there was scarcity and like, and now it's like, there's this, you know, and people like what turns then into like that hoarding, you know, and that it's like survival, but it's there,
If
the
you
cycle
look at
doesn't
your
really
life, how
stop.
much of your life is just sandbags on
Yeah.
the riverside?
Yes,
You know,
trying to swim across the
and
river.
maybe it's sensible if you show up during the flood. It all makes sense now. I see why you did it, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't, but like how much of your life is devoted to fending off what you fear will come, maybe rightly fear, we don't know.
Yeah.
And how much less freedom in your life is there, because that's where your resources are devoted. You know, that's boy, that's tough. Thank you. Can we hear it again since we talked about it? Would you mind?
Yes, it's by Starlight I ran, a raging river of fear, undone.
Thank you. Okay. Um, oof. I have one here, I think. I wonder if I should read this Saki one. I have a Saki one here. Let me think.
Right.
Yeah. There are no prayers over his grave. Catnip and clover grow, though. No heat from the furry furnace now, though sunlight, starlight, and moonlight soak into the wounded earth where he lies, somehow. There are no hopes spoken over his grave, but I visit, I sing, I whisper, I cry. He was always so quiet, though he aged into more voice. He was never quite this quiet. This is the quiet of a dull sword cleaving, of a full sky crashing down and crushing all. I am no longer myself without him. I am no longer myself without him here. Catnip and clover grow, though. The mistress not here. There it is.
Remember Mr. Saki?
Area of the reading poetry.
Where is it? Oh, of course.
Here's my
Yes.
copy editor. Oh, thank you. That was felt just how it's meant to feel, I guess. This one's called Star String Lingering. So 2 words, Star String Lingering. This is written for noble tranquility. The lights have fallen to nightbreak. There on the sharp horizon, cracked open, leaching pastel peach. Or is it apricot? Into the dimming blue. The moon, 2 stars aligned in a line, 3 drops of rain, frozen in their falling. An overnight shower lasting longer than it did. By the tiny grace of an unseen spider, her web work holding these 3 pieces of rain up to the fading moonlight, as dawn conspires to interfere with the colors she is daily born in. The white brings blue, the day brings night, the night brings dew. I long for you in the long days, in the longer nights, in the dark, in the light. If I'm lucky in my ache, I'll be suspended for a moment more between heaven, between earth, consumed by starlight, embracing dark, forestalling dawn, awash in moonlight. Yeah. I think that goes in the, I should recategorize that. I have a category of poetry that is where I don't know what colors are. I think that one might go in there because of the apricot at the beginning. Yeah, I could also, I could cross categorize that.
Yes.
Here's another, or maybe I'll come back to that. Let's see, did anybody bring a word today? That, or can think of one now that they'd like to add to the stone soup? I'll take one. I'll try and take just one, if I may.
Embers.
Oh, last time it was tapestry. Well, that's good.
Did you hear words?
I didn't know. I thought she was looking,
Oh.
thinking of one.
Oh.
Envelop.
Mm. I like it. Thank you. I'm gonna share with you guys uh, a pair of words to write with, or so we can think of as an assignment if you want.
Okay.
And the pair is, they don't have to go in and rhyme, or they can go anywhere. And the two words, or two pairs. First is less sun, as in getting dark.
Okay.
Less sun.
Yeah.
And the second word is lesson. And maybe you can have a poem that shares a lesson. And I'm gonna, yeah, I have another one we can do next time. But I'm gonna share a phrase, just to seed the ground, which I kind of like, which is needless neediness.
Is neediness spelled with a Y or an I?
I.
It is an I. Like for a second, I was like,
Did you just
It's
go
a
correct
Y,
it?
yeah.
That's so funny.
I was looking
As
at
soon
it,
as
I'm
I answered it, she went,
didn't
"Oh."
need this. I'm like, oh,
Well,
yeah,
maybe
I did too.
Maybe I'm outvoted. Like, that's fine. I'm gonna read this poem by Marwan. I don't know how to Makud. I think it could be Makus, but I think it's in order for me to write poetry that isn't political, I must listen to the birds. And in order to hear the birds, the warplanes must be silent. I like that kind of end around of political.
Boomerang.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
it's
going this way.
it's so I find that pretty inspiring.
What was that?
Marwan Makus, but it's handwritten and I can't tell for sure. So it seems more likely it's Makhod. Yeah, but I imagine if we looked for the poetry, I imagine if we looked for it, we might find the name type somewhere. Just a
In order
guess.
to not write something political, I must listen to the birds, but first the warplanes
In
must.
order to hear the birds, the warplanes must be silent.
Yes.
Oh, this online, it looks like it might be Makul with an L at the end, which does make sense. So
And MARWIM.
yeah, yeah. So I found it here typed out. So
Okay.
I imagine that's the right name.
All right.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty good. So I'll add that to the page.
And I get to the page by that link that you sent me, the Patreon.
Um,
Or is that?
no. I'll have to send you an invite. It's a Google Classroom. If you think of it, send me a text. I
I'll
can't.
send you an answer.
It's just I just have to add your email to or something, and maybe we'll do it as soon as we're done here, and it take 2 seconds. But I don't think I did that. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Do you have anything else to share? Because otherwise, I might just do one, and we'll finish up. Star String Lingering, Starlight Dreams, Victoria Chang, that's amazing. Yeah, so this is a short one. So this is called Here and Away. And I don't know if I finished it or not. Here and Away. The sun's yet to rise here, I must report. It's dark as night today, here in my blanket fort. I've wrestled this brain awake. Still, my body swoons. I imagine finger painting archaic glyphs and runes on the undersides of linen wherein my flesh cocoons. The starlight cantrips I finger place are truly daylight stars in outer space. So let the day fall fast and finally asleep all day, and come the dark as deep as both it and I may. I read that for a student who is battling depression and lost, and she would often write about this needs to be a blanket fort day. I can't explain it, but she knew I understood. She's like, nothing else is going to get done today. I'm just in a blanket for it. And she didn't make it at her own hand. So I think that was one of the few I wrote to empathically connect with that idea. I think I read that one at her service. I think. I don't remember.
I wrote, I can't see it right now, but I wrote a song, the lyrics to a song. It was really strange. It like came to me, and a couple of weeks later is when Meredith's father took his life. So I'll bring it with me next time. But, yeah.
Do you recall the title?
I have the lyrics. I don't know it necessarily has a title to it.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lyric in it, Shepherd sleeps out in the sun. So I'll bring it with me next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like drop like a bomb like that. Sorry.
No, it's great. This is what the space is for.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
What was his name?
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wonder if I should read Amy's poem since we're talking about it. Maybe that's it. Next week there's no class. It's the 4th. And the one after that is the 11th, 7/11, easy to remember, and the famous song lines.
Oh, it should be. That's pretty perfect. It actually is kind of.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to read a little bit about song lines, you might be really into it. But if not, I'll share a bit about it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Is this it? Yeah. Wait. I thought I had it. I'm sure it's here. Sorry. Yeah, here it is. This is called Amy's Blanket Fort. Your castle has a moat to mark for the unawares, the point of danger, the change of rule. My fort has a juice box. Your castle has a drawbridge to allow in only those who pass the hark who goes, test and cause the chains to move. My fort has peak roof for peeking out, and on occasion for peeking in, but only for the lucky few, and only in the lucky few moments when all is well for a spell. Your castle has both balustrade and colonnade, murtiere and its parapets for staving off the storms and against standing and withstanding armed swarms. My fort has a parapets, this fluffster at my calf, snoring, and this stuffster in crook of arm, well worn with eye missing, but stuffed animal see with squishy bits inside, not these button eyes. Your castle has barbican and portcullis. My fort has a wicken. Jealous? Your castle has both crenellation and matriculation. My fort has an introvert's narration and ceaseless cogitation. Your castle has walls of stone long charred by dragon breath, with dents by dint of minotaur and harpy. My fort is cotton batting, linen for win in battles with monsters greater than your gods.
Did is that your poem or hers? She wrote.
I wrote that.
You wrote that.
Yeah, it's sort of as though I were her.
Yes,
Yeah.
you definitely embodied.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
Are you jealous?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, she found her voice. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty nice, and a bunch of members of her family study with me. So when she took her life, there was a lot of interesting ministering, kind of knowing as I knew the different perspectives on what and the particular different wounds, So it's kind of yeah. So thanks for letting me share that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
How
you.
old was she?
Mm.
Do you mind me asking? Or she was
Late 30s,
Oh,
early
late
40s.
30s.
I don't know. I could look it up, but I don't.
no,
I don't
that's
do math,
okay.
but somewhere in that.
Yeah,
Approaching.
yeah, I could feel a teenager.
Yeah,
know,
this is
like-
this is somebody that had the depression battle for, let's say 30 years or something like that. But made it through the teens, and probably looked kind of normal from the outset, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
had the husband and the job, and that was kind of, sort of
Mhm.
the passing glance is a passing grade kind of idea.
I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. But I get to see her mom like a couple times a week studying, and her spouse and her sister. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, thank you all.
Yeah.
That was very special. Very, very glad.